Welcome back to the channel, guys. If you haven't noticed, things are looking a little different. I also have a cough drop in because I have fallen sick, of course, after I redo the entire setup. I can't even use it because I'm ill, so we're going to power through anyway. Today we're looking at the YieldMax fund, MSTY, and we're going to calculate exactly how much money you have to have in this fund to make $100 every single week from the distributions. Now, this fund pays out monthly, so you wouldn't be able to get paid weekly like you can with some of the newer funds that are paying weekly, but still, I like doing the math and checking it out to see how these ones compare. So we're going to cover a couple of things today. We're going to look at the website for YieldMax and check out this fund specifically, which we've done a lot, so I'm not going to take too long on that. We're going to look at the dividend history, and then we are going to check out the drip calculation, which is probably one of the most impressive that I've seen for a YieldMax fund. It absolutely shocked me. And then we're going to run our calculations. So I hope you guys are interested. If you like this type of stuff, let me know by liking the video and subscribing. And if you like the new setup or don't like it, I'm still deciding how I want the layout to be. Still working out some of the quirks, but let me know. You can drop a comment, and I love reading your comments. So let's go ahead and jump straight into it. Checking out the price history of MSTY. If you guys aren't familiar with the YieldMax funds, they're very, very interesting. Monthly paying dividend ETFs. MSTY skyrocketed at launch, went up 99%. It's still up 11%, but we have seen this thing do nothing but fall in the recent past. Down 44% from that high to the current price, which is not great by any means, but it's still positive, so I do want to note that. The fund hasn't been out for that long. We can see it started trading, I mean, it hasn't even been a year, in February 22. So definitely a newer fund, so take that into your thought process when you're looking and thinking about buying one of these funds. And again, please forgive me, I'm a little bit slow today, but I'm going to try and make some good content regardless. The also familiar YieldMax ETF's website, we can see the MSTY page. Currently, the distribution rate is 94.43%, which is insane. They have paid out 5 distributions so far, the first one being the largest at $4, which is pretty impressive. So I'm not going to dive too far into the details. I've made a video on MSTY before, but the fund overview is basically income. It's actively managed. They want to generate monthly income by selling and writing call options on MSTR, which has been going insane lately as well. Thus, MSTY has been going insane. And they want to have good yields, and then it's going to actually cap the price of gains of MSTR, which is one of the downsides to the YieldMax funds. Now, the best way for me to explain that is you're going to get a lot of money from the dividends, but you are kind of doing a trade-off. You want that monthly income from the dividend, and you're willing to sacrifice the price appreciation of the underlying stock with the YieldMax funds because you're not able to get just the share price of MSTR compared to if you just purchased MSTR. Now, the fund's primary objective is to seek current income. That's the difference with these funds, is that you're getting paid to own them. Whereas if you were to own MSTR, you're not pulling money out. I mean, I guess you could, but you're not getting paid to hold it. You're getting more money as the price appreciates in the asset. And so that's the main difference between owning the YieldMax fund versus just holding the underlying stock. So it is definitely really interesting. Good amount of net assets at 471 million. Now, we always see a large gross expense ratio of 0.99, which this used to be unheard of. These ratios used to be really low, I like 0.3, even lower, and they've just continued to go up as these actively managed funds require more and more work by the management team, which I do understand, but I do wonder exactly how they calculate that rate and if it is true and if it needs to be what it is. So we can see that the MSTY, the market value is up 11.62%, and the 3-month 37.18. But that's not even percent, so I'm not even sure what they're calculating with that. But I assume it would be percentages, but who knows? Since inception, 111% and 113% for market value versus the NAV. And then you can see all their holdings and whatnot. I'm not going to go into all the details on this one, like I said. So let's go ahead and jump into the dividend history on Seeking Alpha and get a second opinion. SeekingAlpha.com, we can see they have had a really crazy history, but of the dividends, they've paid out 5. Like I said, the first one being the largest at $4, $2.50, $3, $2.30, and $1.90, the most recent one, which isn't surprising because MSTR has been dropping a little bit, but that's still an annual payout of $13.96, and their dividend yield is not calculated accurately because Seeking Alpha can't run those numbers without a full year of the dividends. So what we're going to do is we're going to calculate our own way, and that is we are going to take this 13 96. We're going to divide it by 5 to get an average amount that's being paid out by the fund. And then we're actually, we're going to multiply this by 12. That gives us 33.5. We'll divide this number by the current price of $25 exactly, and it gives us 134. Multiply that by 100 because it's I need to get it into a percentage, and you're at 134%, which is even higher than they are stating. Now, I don't know why this is when I run the calculation that it's higher. Maybe they're a little bit delayed. Maybe this the next dividends they know are going to be a little bit lower. But either way, a 94 versus a 134, it's still a crazy, crazy dividend. Like, absolutely insane. So I do like this, but what's even crazier is the drip calculation. I could not believe this when I first saw it. So let's go ahead and jump into that. Since there's not a lot of dividend history to go off of, we do know the fund is a little bit higher risk because of that fact. So let's just take a look at how it has performed. So we are charting MSTY versus MSTR. I always like putting it against the underlying stock on this drip calculator from dividendchannel.com. And so as this pulls up, we can see that MSTR does outperform MSTY. Now, total return 110% for MSTR. Like I said, it's been going insane. And for MSTY, 86.22% with dividends reinvested. With dividends not reinvested, it's the same for MSTR because they don't currently pay a dividend. And MSTY is a little bit lower, about 2% lower. So not a really significant amount, but still interesting to see the difference. Now, both of these funds have done extremely, extremely well. So if someone says, oh, see, it's better to just own MSTR, you're dumb for buying the YieldMax funds. You know, in this case, that might be true, that MSTR did outperform. But MSTY performing at an 86% return is pretty insane. Like, that is not easy to do. There are not a lot of stocks that are doing that right now. And, you know, they may be a little bit saturated. I'm not sure how long this is going to go for MSTR, but I am really, really interested in seeing how all of the YieldMax funds perform, especially in these bear markets, as we've seen. So let's jump into the calculation. Before I start running the numbers, I want to clarify that this is not an assumption on what the stock will do, but just what it could do at this return rate. So I always get comments, and it's okay to comment this, that, oh, it'll never keep returning at this rate, and that is very much a good point. But this is just based off of the information we have now. I don't know. The return rate could go up. It could go down. We don't know. It all depends on what the stock market does and what MSTY does specifically. So we'll start with a lower number. If we put $3,000 in at this rate, we kick out. It's near 100, so it's a little bit easier to calculate these numbers just via mental math. $2,832.90. We're looking for roughly double that. So to get $100 a week, you need $5,200 a year because there's a little over 52 weeks in a year. So what we can do now, let's go ahead and we'll double this and put in $6,000 and see what this gives us. And boom, we have our number. $6,000 would get you $100 a week from MSTY, which is actually insane. The return rate is so high on this fund right now. It may drop. It's looking like it will drop with MSTR's price dropping, but still, that is really, really difficult to beat. So it has been really, really impressive up to this point, and I'm curious to see where it goes and how it compares to the other YieldMax funds and how all these funds do in a down market. Like I said, I wouldn't hate for this to trade sideways. I usually like my YieldMax funds to just trade sideways and to get the distributions, and I don't have to worry about price appreciation. So that wouldn't be terrible in my opinion, but still, if they can keep up these high of yields, I think the funds will be popular for a very, very long time, and they keep putting out more and more funds. There's so many now. I remember when I first started talking about the YieldMax funds, there were 3. So I'm definitely impressed. I want to see what else they have coming, and there's so many new ETFs out there that if you guys are interested, don't forget to subscribe and like the video, because I'll keep putting out more and more videos on these ETFs, how they work and how they are returning in the market. Again, if you guys leave me some feedback on the video setup, is it weird staring at the side of my head while I look at this screen? Would it be weird if you're staring at me while I'm looking down here? Let me know. I really appreciate it, as well as I am working on a new project with a very interesting streaming service that started out, they call it the Twitch of Finance. It's a live streaming service, so I'm going to be live streaming on there. I will link it all in my channel page for those that are interested. I'm going to be putting it all over social media. It's a really cool idea, and they do a ton of giveaways. Like, literally, a guy won like $150 today for doing nothing. So it's super cool. I hope it does well, and you guys can be part of that if you are interested. And by getting it early, maybe you can do well on the site as well. So let me know what you guys think again, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you.